So, hi everyone, and welcome to Mental Health Mamas. My name is Krista,
And I'm Cassie.
and this is our first podcast together, and we're going to be talking about the different mental illnesses in our youth and what we kind of go through as parents ourselves with our own children. So, a little bit about me. I will tell you that I have 6 kids. One is my biological son, he's 20, and I have 5 children that we adopted from foster care. I have two 10-year-olds, two 9-year-olds, and a 7-year-old, and 3 dogs.
And
Go ahead, Cassie, sorry.
I have 3 kiddos. Here I have Bryson, he is 12. I have a stepson, Hunter, who is 11. And I have a daughter, Layton, who is 8.
Yeah, so we're here today just to kind of have you guys get to know us a little bit and tell you a little bit about us and what's going on with our kiddos. And my children, they have different illnesses, different mental illnesses. They have ADHD, they have ODD, they have DMDD, and they also have autism. 4 of my children are autistic. They're not severe, they're mild to moderate. But yeah, that's what they're facing right now.
And over here, my oldest, Bryson, he has ADHD, DMDD, ODD, anxiety, sensory processing disorder, and is also being evaluated currently for autism again.
Yeah.
My stepson has ADHD, and my daughter is under evaluation for anxiety.
Yes, and I forgot to mention anxiety. My daughter also has anxiety and depression. So both of those. So, today we just kind of wanted to have you guys, pop on in, get to know us a little bit, get to know our backgrounds and what's going on in our families. So, Cassie, was there anything you wanted to talk about like that you see going on with any of your kids?
So I guess I'll start with so Bryson being my oldest. I guess I noticed Bryson something going on with him when he was about 3 or 4. Bigger behaviors than what you would typically see in a toddler slash preschool age.
Yeah.
Lots of big emotions, no following through, couldn't follow directions. He was delayed in speech. So I took him, we started with little things like weekly therapy and working with an occupational therapist. And he got diagnosed with ADHD first off the bat. He was about 4.5. It probably was about a year into therapy before we decided on medication. That was about when he started kindergarten. I was really struggling in school. So, after talking to doctors, they're like, we can start this really small, see how it goes. If we don't like it, we can pull him off of it, and that's totally fine. But right off the bat, we noticed big changes, like he was able to focus better. There wasn't so many outbursts in school. He was getting along with kids better. But as he progressively got older, his symptoms got more severe, which, came with more diagnoses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it's been a struggle. We're learning as we go ourselves, right?
Yes.
So we're constantly reading about things. We're going to therapy with them. We're educating our family and
Yes.
school and even our kids themselves because, being so young, they don't really know
Yeah.
what's going on other than they're different. Right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it's tough. So yeah, I mean, it's been a journey and I know
Yeah.
it will continue to be.
Yes, it doesn't stop. It never stops. With me and Elijah, he has the same diagnosis as your son. Only difference is that he was diagnosed with autism, but he's more on the higher spectrum. He is considered Asperger's, but they don't call it that anymore. So, yeah, he's very, very smart. And with him, we noticed he was starting to get aggressive behavior. running out of the classroom. This was in kindergarten. He was not being able to stay put for very long. He couldn't stay focused. Not that he didn't understand what was happening in school or like he didn't want to learn, because he was so smart that he already knew it. So he thought everything was so babyish. It's babyish, he used to tell us. And that's when we started noticing too, was in kindergarten, that, there was a problem. And we started seeking, a psychiatrist. But then I have 4 other girls who I also adopted from foster care, who had other things going on too. My one daughter is my oldest, who's 10. She is diagnosed with childhood schizophrenia, which is very rare in children at her age. She actually got diagnosed 2 years ago, so she was even younger when she got diagnosed. So she's been fighting with that now for a couple of years. We noticed that when she'd be in the car with us, we'd be driving to school, and she would see things outside, like in the sky, that we did not see. And you know how children, you think that they're playing around and you don't know if they're serious. But she was getting to the point where she was saying, "No, Mommy, don't you see it? I see it. Don't you see it?" And I would have to be like, yeah, I see it, because she would get so upset at me that, I didn't see what she was seeing. So that would be the only way for me to calm her down. And then it kept happening. And I was like, wow, something's just not right. And then we brought her in and got her checked, and they found out that, yes, this is what she has. We also got her diagnosed with the DMDD as well. She does have, different moods all the time. She could be really happy, then really sad, then manic. It kind of goes all over the place with her emotions. So she's fighting 2 really, really hard things. And it's so difficult for her. But she's doing really well now. She's a lot stabler than she was in the beginning. She's not seeing things that aren't there anymore like she used to, which is great. But we also have, I also have 2 other children. One, my other daughter, who's 10, she's fighting with anxiety. She has severe anxiety, which we couldn't understand what was going on with her, because I knew it wasn't ADHD, but I wasn't quite sure if it was, because we were so used to the other diagnosis that you just kind of think of the same thing,
Right.
So I was,
symptoms.
yeah. So I wasn't too sure, but when she started seeing the therapist, she said, no, I think hers is just anxiety. And that's what it was. But she's dealing with that now too, but she's doing good too. She's on medication as well. And then my other daughter, who is 9, has ADHD, and she's also been diagnosed with DMDD, just newly diagnosed with it. She just started showing some aggressions, which was very surprising to us, because she was the one kid that I never had to worry about being aggressive out of all my children. And so that totally shocked me. But it didn't start happening in her until she got older. So,
Yeah, it just happened.
yeah. And it was really strange to us. But yeah. But now she's also being, taken care of with that. And then my youngest, who is 7, has ADHD. And that's all she has right now. So that one, but she is a lot like my boy. She's a lot like Elijah. She is very, very smart. She has autism as well. Sorry, and I forgot to mention the other 2 have autism. But yeah, we'll be talking about it anyway. But yeah, she is autistic as well. But she's also considered very, very smart and intelligent side of that. So yeah, but that's pretty much what we're going through over here. Yeah, so
in a nutshell.
yeah, in a nutshell, it's kind of like an everyday thing. I mean, we have lots of fun times still. It doesn't matter, because we have to learn how to cope with these things every single day. We're constantly checking ourselves too, to make sure we're okay. We give each other breaks, me and my husband. It is a team, and I feel bad sometimes for these single moms who are out there, because they don't get that break. you know?
Right. No support systems.
Yeah, and it's kind of really hard for them, and I can't even imagine what they go through. I mean, I've seen it, on social media. Some of them break down, in the camera, and
Right.
and I just sit there and I'm just thinking to myself, wow, I think I have it so bad sometimes, when I have really bad days because the kids are having bad days. But then I look and I'm like, it could be so much worse.
It's a lonely feeling. Like, even, I have my husband here who helps me. And, we're a great team and everything, but there are days, like, even knowing you have somebody to support and help you, it's so emotionally draining, and you just feel like nobody gets it.
Yeah, that's how
And
I
it's
feel
such a
too.
tough feeling, and I can't imagine, like, not having someone to talk to about it, and, like, feeling like you're a failure as a parent
Yeah,
because you can't help your kid the way you feel like they need to be helped. But, if you asked any one of your kids, they would 100% say, like, my mom is the best mom,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, and that's great to hear. And, like, there's those days at
yeah,
the end of the day
there is.
where everything has gone wrong and you're yelling and you don't want to yell because you know they can't help it, but, like, you're only human, and
Right.
you just want to break down and cry.
Yeah. And I
And
do
that's
have
with
those
your
days.
husband next to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really difficult. And it's also difficult, I think, out there, like, even trying to handle, like, sometimes when grandmas get involved or, you know, and they'll say something when your child's being bad or whatever, and you're like, oh, no, you're not supposed to handle it that way, and you're trying to, like,
Mhm.
do it in the nicest way because it's so hard because you know the repercussions of what's going to happen next,
Yeah.
you know? And that's really scary too because it's like trying to be nice, but it's like just let me handle it. Please let me handle it because,
Hmm.
yeah, it happens.
Yeah, like, I mean, and I feel like, you know, as parents, nobody prepares you
Mm-mm.
for kids who have these issues. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
nobody.
talked about.
Yep.
Um, and as you're learning, you're having to teach your family members,
Yep.
like, that this is real.
Yeah, it's
Like,
very
this
real.
isn't like, back in the day where as your kid's just a spoiled brat. It's like,
Yeah.
no, like, you can't help this
Right.
stuff. It's
Yeah.
tough.
It
And
is.
I find myself educating family and friends and teachers and, you know,
Yep.
trying to get everybody on the same page, like, to be as beneficial for the kids as you can. But it's a struggle every day. Like, I'm still learning. I always will be the first to say, like, I'm by no means the perfect parent.
Oh, yeah.
I will
Me
have
either.
failures,
Yes.
and there's days where my kids will tell me that they hate me,
Yes. Yep.
and you're just like, how do you tell your kids, like, well, I'm human too, and I have emotion. They have so many big emotions. That's not really always what they're thinking about.
No, not at
So
all.
it's
I mean,
tough.
they're screaming at you, telling you, I hate you. And you're sitting there like, but I love you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's so hard. Like, and with the different personalities in the house, like, my daughter, she, it's pretty clear, she has anxiety,
Yeah.
like, lots of big emotions,
Oh,
but
yeah.
she's also the first one who is so apologetic for her mood.
Aw, that's so
She'll be
sweet.
the come to me and cry and
Aw,
apologize. Where, like, Bryson, um, it takes him a lot to apologize.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it could be a full day of, like, verbal abuse from him, and then at nighttime he's like, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
you're
my
like,
Elijah too. Yeah. Elijah does
and
it
that's,
too.
you
It
just want
makes
to
you
hear
feel so
that
much
so
better
bad.
after. Yeah.
It
Because it's like,
does.
oh, and he's just so sorry and he wants the hugs and he just feels
Yeah.
so bad, but we know that they really can't help it sometimes. And, you know, the therapist always tells me, he really can't help it. You got to just remember that. He
Yeah,
really
and
can't help it.
it can be so hard. I always
It
say that
is.
to my husband, and I'm like, I know, like, they can't help it, but, like, it's so frustrating
Very, yeah.
because you repeat yourself, and it just doesn't always click,
No, it doesn't.
and you just, I always find, at least for myself, I find myself like having to cope with my own anxiety
Yes,
and
absolutely. Me too.
like not let my anxiety show like that, you're making me really anxious right now because you don't want them to feel worse because Bryson knows like he's very self-aware
Yeah.
of everything that goes on with him. And I've noticed when I'm starting to get overwhelmed, I can see him start to shut down
Oh,
and
okay.
feel really bad.
Feel really bad,
Um,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and then and that kind of triggers a panic attack in them. So I try really hard to like not show that I'm stressed out because of whatever situation is going on
Yeah,
that
and
day.
that part is the hardest part, I think, is trying to show them that you're not stressed out. Like, I try to
Yeah,
stay so calm, it's really hard. And they
yeah,
say, the therapist tells me anyway, she's like, you really got to try to be calm because the more you get, you know, emotional or yelling or screaming, the worse it's going to be. It's just going to
yeah.
escalate
They
from
feed
there.
off of you.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And it's really hard though. It's very
I
hard.
noticed that too, even with like siblings, like so Bryson and Leighton are like 5 years apart. And I even think they were the same age sometimes because of how they argue with each other over
Oh,
things.
yeah.
Who does mom love more today? Or dad
Oh,
was playing with that first, or I wanted to watch this movie, and it's constant like arguing,
well, and that's
and
that's
they
normal
feed
civil
off of that.
rivalry. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
normal.
but they feed off of that, and it just you keep seeing it stack up and
Yes,
up and up, and
it
I'm like,
gets
oh
worse.
man, this is gonna go
Yep,
to any
yep.
minute.
And we try to
Where my
like,
stepson is like the mediator, and he's like
oh, really?
he has ADHD too, but he hates when people fight.
Fight.
So he's like refereeing them almost,
Wow.
and then it's like, no, you play with me, no, you play with me, and then he's like, I'm not picking.
Oh my gosh.
it's
Yeah,
it's like a little circus act here.
that's how it is here too. That's how it is. And it's always about being first. Now, my daughter with anxiety, we noticed, like, she has ADHD too, but we noticed, like, with her, she had to be first with everything. I mean, first to walk out the door just to get in the car to go somewhere. Yeah, like
We have
just silly,
that.
silly things. And she gets emotional if she doesn't win a game. Like she gets really angry.
Yeah,
Like if we play a board game or a card game, she gets really mad, like throws us. I'm like, oh my
yep.
God, are you kidding me? But like she is the same way, like Leighton, she'll cry like this, like
Yeah,
anything.
on a drop of a dime.
She worries about everyone around her. She worries if somebody's sick, if somebody has to go to the hospital, if
Hmm.
anything. Is constantly worrying all the time, and that's what distracts her. Is all the thoughts that are going through her head constantly, and like she'll worry about something that happened like a week ago, and then
Yeah,
she'll bring it up again. So like that's happening
yeah,
all the
like,
time too. Yeah, and it's like, didn't we
yeah.
already squash that last week?
No, they hold on to it. I was actually, Leighton just turned 8 on Wednesday, and she had her 8-year-old checkup, and we got to talking about sleep because she's so anxious that it disrupts her sleep. So she came
Mine too.
into my room the other night, 2 a.m.,
Oh,
woke me up full of tears, and I'm like, "What is wrong?" She's
oh,
like, "I left my board game at school, and I'm really worried
oh no.
that it's going to get taken."
Poor thing.
And I'm like, it's fine. Like,
Yeah,
we'll get it. Don't
yeah,
worry about it. Let's go back to bed. Goes back to bed. An hour later, back in my room crying, like, but really, mom, what is going to happen if it's
yeah.
not there when I get back to school?
Right,
So, and these are things she does often. Like, she'll wake up and she has thought something while she was sleeping, and
right,
she's got to come and wake everyone up. And she's just so upset. She won't let it go. And then you're fighting to go back to sleep because they have to get up for school in the morning.
right. Yeah,
You're going to be so miserable if you don't
yeah,
go back to sleep. So,
yeah,
we're trying to get her to think of other outlets when she wakes up anxious, like write it down on a piece of paper or in a
right.
journal or something
Yeah,
like
that's a
that.
good idea. That's a good idea. I should do that
You
with
know?
my daughter because she does the same thing. And her, because she's older, she goes to bed later. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
usually I put lights out 10 o'clock for them, my two 10-year-olds. Lights out 10 o'clock. That doesn't mean the lights,
Yeah.
that's it. Because one will fall asleep right away and the other one is still up, and she's always up. And I know it's because she's got all these thoughts in her head. And
Yeah.
we did get her a journal too, but I don't think she uses it like she should. Like, I think she should be
Yeah.
using it much more.
See, Leighton, she'll journal during the daytime, but like when things get to her where she's like super anxious, she's like one of those kids who has to tell you like right then.
Yeah,
Like you
that's how
have to know
Zoe
how
is
to
too.
right.
Yep. Yep, that's
So
how Zoe
it's
is.
hard like trying to like teach her like you know, like how do you teach a kid with anxiety not to be anxious,
It's not.
you
It's
know?
hard. It's very hard. I mean, it's
Impossible.
hard for me. I have anxiety, and that's
Yeah,
hard
me
for me.
too.
It's hard for an adult, so it's very hard for kids. But like, Zoe, like she's on two different kinds of medications too, and one is supposed to help her sleep at night. Only it really doesn't because she's
Yeah.
still up. I mean, but then she's a late sleeper. She sleeps till like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's like it's because she didn't sleep. She didn't go to bed, till late, and like she was probably
Mhm.
up all night. But yeah, that's the one thing that she really struggles with the anxiety because they're constantly thinking all the time
Mhm.
about everything. Something that
Yeah.
happened, during the day or whatever, who she fought with, and that she feels bad now and she wants to say sorry, but they're sleeping,
Yeah.
so
3 a.m.
yeah, it's 3 a.m. But like she would come to me and say, like, oh, mommy, I can't sleep. And I'm like, yeah, I know, honey, but you got to try, think of something, think of something pleasant, think of something that can soothe you. I even went out and bought, all my kids have like squishmallows, those
Hmm.
squishmallows, and like the girls love them. Like Elijah, you
Oh
could
yeah.
care less about it. But like they all love it because it's so comfy and they're so squishy and like, and that's kind of been helping. And my one daughter, she asked, her birthday just passed. She just turned 9 and she asked for a squishmallow pillow. I didn't even know they existed. And then I went on Amazon, of course. Where else would you go to find things? And and they had them, and they had this panda one, and it's huge. And I got it for her birthday, and she's been doing so much better with sleeping since I got that
Yeah.
thing. I don't want to say anything. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
knock on
is it
wood.
the Squishmallow? Because if it is, that's amazing. Yeah. So, but they really take comfort in like. I try to find things like that, like fidget toys.
Yeah.
Like those are big in my house. I don't know if they are in yours,
Yeah,
but
same here. For Leighton, I think the boys kind of outgrew them, honestly. Leighton has a huge bucket of them that she's always playing with.
yeah,
But the boys just like those fidget spinners. And now that they're older,
yeah. Yeah,
they don't really
Elijah
care.
could care less about the fidget stuff too, but he actually he likes to mold with clay.
Mm,
My kids, they are very like creative. They love crafting. So I don't know if that's because of me, because I craft,
yeah, probably.
but but yeah, they love crafting, and they love making things with clay, like the air dry clay, that kind of stuff. And that's supposed to be really good for them, because the therapist says that that's a good soothing mechanism for them. Any type
Keep them
of
stimulated.
yeah, any type of crafting, anything like that, and it also gets them off of the electronics. Let's face it,
Yeah,
because
that's a
that
big
is
problem
like
in
a
our house.
huge problem.
Bryson, especially Bryson. I guess Hunter too. But again, it's kind of like age appropriate too,
Yeah.
because they're like
Oh
preteens
yeah.
and that's what they do.
That's what
But
they do.
having the ADHD brain, that those video games really lock them in. But I noticed with Bryson, he likes puzzles. Like he
Oh
likes
yeah.
the puzzle cubes. The what are they called? The Rubik's cubes.
Oh yes.
He can sit there and he'll solve those, and then
Really? Wow.
Legos. He'll sit at the table for hours and
Yeah.
build the entire. Like you could have your pants on fire,
See,
and
that's
he would be
good.
so focused on the Lego building
Yeah.
that he wouldn't even notice.
Wow.
And that's great when we can get him to do it.
Yeah.
He'll sit there for hours, and I obviously who wouldn't love their kid to do stuff like that over video games? But the reality of it is,
They're always gonna go back
like
to the video
on an
games.
electronic. That's typical of this day and age too. It's
Now,
what
what does
is
he
in.
usually play? What does he usually play? Like, what does he like
Um,
doing?
Right now, Fortnite
Oh,
is
okay.
the big
Yeah,
one,
well,
and
that's the age. That's the
Roblox.
age. And Roblox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Roblox is a big one. Yeah. They
Yep.
all love Roblox. And
Same here.
I don't know I don't know if my 20-year-old got them into it because he used to play it all the time when he was younger. But like they all love it so much. It's like, oh my God. And then every time there's a new game on there, they want to hurry up and go play it, you know.
Yeah.
And the only good thing I'll say about Roblox is that I I I like that they let kids like create their own games and bring it there.
Avatars and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think
Yeah.
that's really great, you know. But they also have been getting into Minecraft again, which they got away from
Yeah.
that for a while, but now they're
Yeah, I
back with
noticed that's coming
Minecraft.
back.
Yeah, it's like coming back again. I don't know what happened, but yeah, trying them to get off of it, it's really hard. It's like one of the
It is
hardest
because
things.
it's that ADHD brain. They want to do something that's going to stimulate their mind, and those games really do because there's so much to look at and so many things to do. And like, you know, I watch it sometimes, and when Leighton plays, and I get mesmerized.
Yeah, so do
You
I.
know,
I watch it too. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like
yeah,
watching
like
it.
they know all these tricks and the way they can function on those tablets and stuff. I'm
Oh my
like,
God, it's like unbelievable. They know a lot more than I do because I'm not good with
like
any of it.
even coding. Yeah, like my 12-year-old can code like a whole computer from playing
Can
video
he
games. It's
really?
amazing.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's what Elijah wants to do. He wants to code. And I'm like,
It's
we'll see. But like, the only thing with coding, like my 20-year-old, he thinks it's boring. He's like, Mom, coding's boring. He's not going to like it. I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. Some of these kids that are super smart like that, they
hmm
love it.
it's a puzzle. It's a
Yes,
puzzle.
it's a puzzle and they love it. So I'm like, I really think that he would enjoy it. So now for Christmas, I will tell you, we got this huge, the teacher told me about it, his teacher. Got this huge Lego and it's a robot, but you have to build it. And then once you build it, you can code it.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
and you get it to move around, do whatever you want it to do. So I'm like, well, that's cool. And it's not cheap, it's expensive, but we got it for Christmas. It was one of his biggest gifts. It's still in the closet. We
Of
haven't built
course.
it yet.
I have so many toys like that. They wanted so badly, and then you get it, and it's in the closet.
I'm like,
Might as well just rewrap it and give it to them next year. They probably
I
won't even
know, right?
remember they
You
have
probably
it.
remember they have it. Exactly. Oh, we used to do that when they were younger because they never
Oh
knew.
yeah. No, we certainly do
They
not.
never knew. I mean, I'm
That's
not a bad
silly.
parent, everybody, but yeah, we used to do that when they were younger. But yeah, it's like stuff like that. You know, you get it for them, and then you're like, okay, I thought you wanted to code. You know, you wanted to build this awesome robot, and you're not even touching it. But yeah, but
Yeah, I
my
find their interests change, and I don't know if it's just like a normal kid thing or what, but like they'll like something for a couple months and they'll be really into it and that's all they want to talk about. And I think that's kind of almost like the autism side of it, where they
yes,
obsess about something for a long period of time
yep,
and then suddenly they like something else completely different.
yep,
And then they're upset and that's all they talk about, like Bryson. And that was one of the reasons Bryson's being reevaluated because he's like that.
he gets
And
obsessive
because
about
he's
something, and then he
12,
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
he's 12, but like he likes things that we notice younger kids like.
okay,
Um, so, he's in middle school. So those kids are, interested in the opposite gender now.
okay,
Like,
yes,
everybody's talking about boys and girls, and I
right,
like him, and I like her, and Bryson's like, I like Sonic the Hedgehog.
yeah, yeah,
That's what he's interested in.
right.
And then, like, when he talks about these things to other kids, he can't understand why they don't think it's so cool like he.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
he gets upset about it.
Yes.
And that was a big thing, and he just doesn't understand social cues.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what's going on with my
doesn't
daughter.
either.
Yeah, that's what's going
Yeah.
on with my older daughter. She's into things like that, like Zoe's not, like Zoe and her are the same age, but like Zoe's into totally like her age appropriate stuff that she's into,
hmm
where Chloe's still into things like that my 8-year-old's into. So that's
Yeah.
how we see that, you know? So it's like very confusing. So Zoe and her don't really I mean, they share a room together, but they don't like during the day they're not like doing a lot of things together because they're just not interested in
Yeah.
the same stuff. So I
Right.
can't make them play together. I mean, but like she'll certain times like she'll say, "Oh, come on, Chloe, I'll do your hair or I'll do your makeup." Because that's what Zoe's into. She's at
Yeah.
that age now. That's
Agreed.
what she's into. Where Chloe could care less. She doesn't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, she's into mermaids and unicorns, and she's still into all that stuff that my 8-year-old's into.
Hmm.
So it's like, I understand. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. It's a wild ride for sure, or
Yeah.
like the facial. It's like I can tell he doesn't get like I just chaperoned their school dance on
Oh,
Friday,
okay. Okay.
and he's doing all these things that you would see much younger kids doing. He's running around and he's playing with the cones where other kids are like dancing because
Yeah.
it's a school dance.
Yeah.
Um, and he thinks it's hilarious and he's having so much fun. And he's not noticing kids around him are like, what are you doing? Like he
Ah,
doesn't pick up on the fact that they're irritated with him or
right.
like not on the same page. Like he thinks because he thinks it's fun, everybody's gonna think it's fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that was like one of our big indicators there was like uh
Yeah.
maybe, and he was evaluated when he was 2, but I think he was just too
That's too
young,
young. Yeah.
and we didn't really think too much about it until more recently as he's getting older and should be in these social situations with his peers, and he's not.
Yeah.
That we're like, maybe this was a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
we'll
it's good
see.
you're having it
It's a long
evaluated again.
process.
Yeah. Yeah, you were telling me, I know you were telling me that it's a lot longer process there in your state than it is in mine. Where here it's
Yeah,
like really quick.
yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. But
Yeah, you should think how many kids. Well, I mean, with the way the wait list is here, it's like that's a lot of kids being evaluated.
yeah. Yeah.
And why is that?
And why is that?
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you just never know. But I mean, I did, where we went, it was to a neurologist. And I think that is your best bet, is definitely going to a child neurologist to get it diagnosed. I would not
Yeah,
suggest like going to these like other facilities. But I know with some people it's really hard because of their medical, whatever they have for medical to get their kids, checked out and stuff. It's kind of hard for them because like here, before I adopted my 5 kids, they were being seen at Easter Seals, it's called here. And
okay.
that's where they would go, and that's where they would get diagnosed if they have autism. But there, it was like a totally different process than it was when we went to the neurologist. So, like, it was totally different. So,
Yeah,
I
you
know it's
get
hard.
the neurologist for like the EEG aspect, and I originally were just looking for like absence seizures and stuff like that. But they still have to go through autism centers here. So
Yeah,
we have autism centers specifically just for that,
that's good.
where they do like I think it's like a whole day.
Oh, it's
Once
a
they
whole
get all
day.
the paperwork in and they do all this testing, and it's based on how old your child is at the
Right,
time. Now Bryson's much older,
right.
then most kids get diagnosed with it. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Like how are you going to test a 12-year-old for this?
Yeah,
Whereas you tested at 4 or 5 usually.
yeah, that would be
Um,
interesting because that's like
so
probably totally different for them to do it.
yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. They've Yeah, they must have. I assume they must have like a different program for older kids
yeah.
because there's adults that are still being diagnosed in their 20s and 30s with autism because it was missed when they were
Well,
younger
yeah.
because it wasn't something that was talked about.
Yes, exactly. Because my one daughter that we adopted, her dad, he thinks that her biological father thinks that he actually probably has autism, but was never diagnosed properly. Yeah.
Right. Because it wasn't talked about.
Yep. It wasn't
It
talked
wasn't
about.
talked about when I was a kid.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I'm sure it was, but like not, you know, in the
Not like it
public
is
like
now.
more it
Mm-mm.
is today. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why we're here.
Yeah,
Because we want to talk about it.
absolutely.
We think that it should be talked about because I think it's one of the most important things that need to be talked about because of so
Yeah.
much of it. And so much of the stuff that goes on in the schools with children. I think there's more kids in school right now who have mental issues than there are kids that do not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I saw, anyways, when I was like, being a, what did they call us? I forget what they called us when we were in school. We were always there helping. I was like a mentor basically. We would go there once in a while and we would be there and we would like help kids who didn't have, maybe their parents weren't helping them enough at home with homework or whatever. And me and my husband used to go in and we used to, help them, do their math homework, do some. Now they don't let you in the schools at all. Ever
Yeah.
since,
Well,
COVID and all these, shootings and stuff, they just aren't doing that anymore. So,
right.
yeah, but I just seen it a lot more in schools when we were there with different kids and seeing the different things that were going on. I mean, my 7 year old, she went to kindergarten, and when I went and sat in her classroom for the day to see what was going on and why she was running out of the classroom, I was like, I want to run out of here.
Yeah, I did the same thing with Bryson. I sat through a middle school day with him, and I was like, this
Yeah,
is tough.
it is. It's not like when I was going to school. I don't ever remember it being that way. Like, I don't know. It was
Mhm.
just,
A lot of anxiety in schools today, and I think a lot of it was, COVID related, and like you said, school shootings. They hear about that stuff, on the news, on
yep, on
YouTube. I mean,
everything.
any type of social media is talking about it. The radio is talking about it, so they're constantly hearing about it. Most of these kids were so young when COVID started,
Yeah,
and all they heard was there's this horrible illness going around, and people were dying, and
yeah.
now we have to wear masks, and we can't see people's faces, and that made people. I mean, kids so anxious. They're not understanding this. Like
No.
their life literally flipped a switch in a day,
Yeah, it did.
you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, my
And
kids were
the
in school too for
shootings.
COVID, and like now I homeschool. So, um, but yeah, I mean, when they were in school, it was like the same thing, and then we were home, and then that's when I noticed when they were home that they were doing much better at home being
Yeah,
homeschooled than they were in school. And I was like, okay, we're just going to keep this going because they were learning more. And my kids were like falling through the cracks. They were just not, there was just not enough teachers. There weren't enough teacher aides. There wasn't enough help for them at the school. I'm not blaming the school because I know it's difficult right now. They don't have enough
hmm,
teachers. They don't have enough faculty. They just don't have the manpower like they used to have. And
yeah, and that's a COVID thing too, I think.
yes, it is. And a lot of these teachers, especially the teachers like with my kids that are going to school, they a lot of those teachers worked in the classroom, but now they're online school teachers. And they actually get paid the same that you would get paid if you were in a classroom. So why
Yeah,
wouldn't you do that? You know what I mean? They get to be home.
exactly,
They get to be with their 3 year old. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
exactly.
yeah. And it's less stress on them too, I think.
Yeah, COVID played such a big part. I feel like in a lot of kids' mental illness.
Oh God, yeah.
I noticed with Bryson especially, his behaviors progressed during
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he was in fourth grade. Well, I guess end of third grade, going into fourth, when it hit, and the online learning really brought out a different
Yeah.
personality in him. And then, being remote for 2 years and then going back in and having to socialize with kids, with having this anxiety of this illness spreading, his behaviors got worse.
Yeah. I could see that.
And
Yeah.
we're still like wrangling it in
Yep.
from it.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to socialize anymore. They miss so much of their
Yeah.
childhood
Their
for those two
childhood.
years
Yep.
that they forgot how to be kids and how to socialize.
Yep.
So now when you're dealing with kids who are diagnosed with all these things, having to go back into normal society is like impossible.
Yeah. It's hard. It really is. Like with us, our socializing, because I homeschool, is at the park. That's where we go.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at the park a lot. But the other kids are there. So they're socializing or their extracurricular activities, that they're in or whatever. But Yeah, COVID was a huge it was a huge difference, but it opened up I think it opened up mine and Gordy's eyes, like my husband, really wide to what was really going on with our kids too.
Yeah.
Because we were seeing them at home and how they were learning with the school and then seeing why they weren't really learning. It wasn't
Yeah.
helping them. They weren't doing good. And this is, and and when I would see them online with the teacher and interacting and like doing the work that was sent to them and stuff, and I'm like, you guys don't even understand what you're doing right now. You have no clue what you're doing. And that's the
Mm-mm.
part where I was like, oh no. And being that I was home, I was like, I think we're just going to stay with the home. And here in Florida, they have a really good online school program, which we're lucky that we have that because I don't know what
Yeah.
else I would do. Um, because the schools here are just, there just isn't enough. Like my one
Right.
daughter, she was failing. She was failing. So it was really, really difficult, for her. And when a child comes home in second grade with straight F's on her report card, something's not right. And why
Yeah.
isn't
Something
the
like that.
teacher talking to me about it?
Right. Yes.
That's like a
Yes. The
huge
communication, that's the
alarm. It's like, oh my God. Like I like literally I thought I was gonna faint when I saw the paper. I'm like, why what? What's
yeah.
happening
I
right
really
now?
told you like what's going on. Yeah.
Like, why
It's
don't I get a call? Why aren't you telling me? Why don't you? She knows I'm home all day. It's like, why aren't you telling me to come in school? I will sit with her if I have to. I mean,
right.
and this was a private school she was going to. We weren't going to the public school. We were going to the private school. So it wasn't like they were getting tons of money from the state, getting funded for for my kids because of their autism. And it was like, and you're not teaching her? You're just letting her sit there and not learn a thing? Like, I'm confused.
I find that private schools are way tougher
Worse?
than public
I
schools.
think so.
Public schools have a lot more resources, and I think, at least here in New York, they don't have to follow 504s and IEP
They don't?
at the private schools. No,
Oh,
because if
no.
they're
Private
not,
schools can do whatever they want. Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
So unless they get grants from the government, is the only way they have to actually. But if they're just like completely privately funded, they don't have to. So
Wow.
if you put a kid in there in a school like that have, they have ADHD and they need those resources, that school can just say, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate and tough because the private schools are smaller settings, and a lot of times kids with ADHD and autism, they need smaller
Yes.
classroom
Yes.
settings.
And that
And
was the
that's why
reason why we
parents
did
will
it.
pay for it.
Yep. That's why we did it because we thought, okay, they're going to get the more one on one that they need. But that just was not the case. It just wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And
And I don't
it's
want to be
getting so
bothered with
dark in
that.
my room. Can you see me still?
Yes.
Okay. I'm like, it's getting so dark in here. And it looks like it's still so light where you are.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty daylighty out there still.
I thought in Florida is where the sun set. The latest, I thought it was daylight here longer, but I guess not. But actually, it's supposed to storm here, so there you go.
Oh,
We always get the storms. We always get the thunderstorms.
we actually had a nice day. We got rain all day yesterday. Today's nice.
Well, that's
So
good. That's good.
got outside today.
But yeah, we're gonna get into a lot about though with the IEPs and the 504s and stuff like that too. And yeah. But yeah, so
Maybe good.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm really surprised that my kids have been quiet this long.
Yeah, mine only kind of once.
Which is really amazing right now. I know.
Wants to know if I'm talking about
I
it.
know, right? Everybody see them running around in the background and, screaming and yelling at each other and yeah.
Yeah, this will be a real life podcast over here.
Oh yeah,
You guys are gonna
absolutely.
get it all.
Yes, absolutely. Us too. Because this is not going to last forever. I don't have like a separate
No,
room that I could go into and just like where it's really quiet. I mean,
no.
I have my craft room because I craft too, but it's all open as you could see. So, yeah. I don't have
Well,
my
I'm
own
sure
room.
my dogs will be here and my kids will You'll see them stick their heads in to see what we're talking about.
And that's okay because I think that it would be great to bring them on once in a while too. So like people can
Absolutely.
actually see them and my kids are fully aware of what's going on with them. I mean, we want them to know that. We want them to
Yeah.
understand it, and that's what we do with the therapist. She's like, "Don't we don't want to hide anything. We want them to know what's going on with them. That's why we talk about it because they need to be talking about it."
Yeah, and they can educate people around them too.
Yes.
If they can advocate for themselves, I feel like that's so important. I tell Bryson that constantly. Like, people are not going to always understand you, and you need to be your own voice. Like, you
Yes.
need to speak up, and you need to say, "I'm struggling,
Yes.
and this is why." And he does a pretty good job at it for the
Oh,
most
good.
part.
Good. Yeah.
Unless he's like very triggered, but he will say like, "I need a break."
Yeah,
That's
that's
fully.
good. That's good because I'm trying to teach that to Elijah, like, saying I need a break. I need, especially like when they need alone time, because
Yeah.
too much is going on around them with the girls, and they're like driving him crazy, and he's like, I can't stand this anymore, you know.
Hmm.
So he'll either come hang out with me, or he'll go hang out with dad, and that's his way to get away because it's really hard on him too because he's the only boy. I mean, my
Yeah.
other son is 20, so it's not the same. They're too
Yeah.
far apart in age, but yeah, it's really difficult for him, I think, sometimes. And sometimes I put that into consideration when he is acting up because it's like you just you don't know. It could just be a normal thing sometimes for him. It's not
Yeah.
something, because the girls could be picking on him or bothering him or because I could tell when he's starting to get upset because I hear his voice get louder, and he's
Hmm.
not a very loud kid. So when his voice starts going up in registers, I'm like, okay,
No,
he's
it's
getting
time.
aggravated.
I mean, and it's hard for kids to express that.
But yeah, like I was
Um,
saying, yeah, like they need a break. They do. I think everybody
I
needs a
mean, I'm a
break.
parent and I need a break. There's some days
Exactly.
where I just want to go and close my door and just be alone because I get very overstimulated myself,
Yeah, I'm the
you
same
know.
way too.
So we got a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
We're all learning from each other.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I tell people all the time, if you could be a fly on the wall in my house, you'd be like, what's going on in there? Yeah. I mean, there's tons of personalities in this house, so yeah. We're very
Yeah. Same here.
yeah. Yeah, very vocal, and we're very honest and upfront with each other because that's the way we're told we're supposed to be because it's important for the kids. So, you know,
Absolutely.
I want them to be able to
Especially
express
kids that
themselves.
can't understand facial
Yes.
expressions, social cues.
Yes.
So you gotta just say it the
Yeah.
way it is for them.
Yeah, because that's a huge problem with Elijah. He doesn't understand when somebody is kidding. Like,
Yeah.
I'm joking, or like even me or dad. It's like, I'm kidding, honey. I'm kidding. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And then he'll get mad at like one of the girls, and it's like they were just joking around with them. And I'm like, okay, well, you can't do that, I guess, because he
He
doesn't
doesn't know that
understand, he
you're
doesn't
being,
know that
yeah.
you're kidding. And they're like, but I was just kidding. It's like, oh, it's really hard on them too, because they're all
Yeah.
trying to I always try to say to my kids, remember the other person next to you. Think about how they're feeling when you're doing something because everybody's got their own thing going on. And sometimes they don't understand. And you just have to really be paying attention to that. And I know it's hard because they're young and it's difficult for them to understand because there's things like Shay with her autism, she can't stand certain loud noises, and we're loud in this house, and sometimes when the kids are singing something over and over and over again, she flips out.
Yeah.
Stop. And she's like covering her ears, and she's way overstimulated, and she can't handle it. She cannot handle it. Like, I literally went and got her these little headphone things for her ears where it just goes over your head, but it's not the big headphones. It's just the ones that they just go on here, and it's like styrofoam on them,
Yeah.
and they're for autistic children. And she puts them on, and she puts it over her head, and she put them on her ears, and she tells me, they don't work, Mom.
Oh no.
I'm like, what do you mean they don't work? She goes, I can still hear everything.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh my God, Shay, I am so sorry. I'm like, we'll have to find bigger ones then. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. She's like, you
Yeah.
said they were going to work. Now she wants them. So, like, because she knows, this is
Yeah,
going
the
to
idea
help
of it
me.
probably sounds amazing to her.
Yes, to her. And I'm like, okay, well, now I'm lost because now I don't know what I'm going to find. But I know they have them for like kids when they go on the airplane. They have the
Yeah.
ones that
We
you
have
could
them
buy.
in our school. A lot of kids wear them at school,
Do they
especially in the
really?
cafeteria and like when we're at the school dance on Friday, a lot of kids had them on.
See, these were the only ones that I found. But see, I get their stuff off of a website that's for their scholarships that they get for being homeschooled with autism. So they have the scholarship, and that you go in their store. It's called like a scholarship school, a scholarship of store, and you go in there, and they are those things that you can purchase with their grants are already okayed for you to purchase. So I just automatically go in their store and then I just get whatever they need or what I need for them at home. And that's the only thing that they had were those kind of headphones. And I'm like, oh, I got to go on Amazon and see if I can get something else because it really bothers her when they're just singing something over and over and over again, which she doesn't realize that she does that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're doing the same thing, honey. Only it's not
But
aggravating
most of
them.
the time, yeah, but most of the time with that, it's like it's okay if they do it.
Yeah.
They just don't want other people to do
Yeah,
it.
they don't. And she does, and
Things
I
like
don't think
that.
she I don't think she knows she's doing it. Like we'll tell her, you sing this one song, like a Justin Bieber song it was. She was singing it over and over again, and it's a Christmas one. But she sings it over and over. It's just stuck in her,
Mhm.
and that's what she does. And I think it just helps her. I don't know. But she just does it over and over and over again, and we're like, oh boy, here we go. And and everybody gets ready for it, but nobody says anything to her. We
Right.
all just let it go because we know it's Shay. That's what she
Yeah.
does,
It's,
you know?
yeah. It's probably like a stimming thing for
It
her.
is. It is. It is. Because, like, she does, like, another thing that she has a habit doing is she does a lot of cartwheels. She'll just keep doing
Wait.
cartwheels over and over and over again. And now she's getting better at it. She's like challenging herself, and now she's doing like one-handed ones. And the other day she goes, "Oh, watch, Mom!" And she does one, and she's covering her eyes, and it's one-handed. I'm like, "Oh, great,
Oh my,
yay!"
that's a great way to break a bone.
I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You're gonna give me a heart attack." But yeah, yeah.
You ever notice kids with ADHD have zero fear?
Oh,
They
zero.
just don't care.
They don't. They really don't. I will say though that Shay was the last one to learn how to swim in the pool without a floaty. All the other kids learned like really quick. They were super young. I think they were only like 4. But with Shay, I couldn't even get her to put her feet in the water. She was petrified
Mm.
of it. And I don't know what it was because when she was a baby, we put her in the float, we put her in the water, and it was no big deal. But as she got older, she got more terrified of the water. And then all of a sudden, like I would put her, like all the kids would be swimming around her, and she'd be on this big float in the water without any of her body in the water. And she still have her floaties on, just in case she fell off the float. And it was like, she just didn't want to have nothing to do with it. And then finally, her dad got her to start getting used to it, the water. And then once she got used to it, I couldn't get her out. She was
Yeah,
the last one to get out of the pool all the time. But
that's funny.
now she's like going to be turning 8 in September, and she just started swimming without the floaty. She finally took it off.
Oh,
Yeah. But I think it
now
was
she's
just
a
like,
mermaid.
yeah, yeah. So it's like she's so happy now. She's like, I'm doing it with nothing. Look at me. I'm free. I'm like, yeah. But now I'm just keeping a close eye on her because she's like a new, like,
New
without it
swimmer,
on.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's like new to me. It's like I get
Like
worried.
once they get that skill though, and it's set in their head that they can do it, that's like it.
Yeah, that's it. Like she won't put the
That's
floaty back
good.
on again. No.
Yep.
Mm-mm. No.
Good. I'm gonna just dive right in
Yeah,
now.
that's it. And she'll be like, "Oh, watch, mommy," and she's doing, my kids. They all do like flips in the water. They do, and they give me a heart attack because I'm just like, "Are you kidding me? Flips, really?" And then the one time my daughter, she decided she was going to do a backflip because Elijah can do front flip, back flip. He's just very flexible kid. And he's not scared of anything. But like Lillian's not scared of anything either. But then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, look." And she went to do a backflip, which I didn't know that's what she was doing. Me and Gordy were like, and all of a sudden it was like already in motion, and it was kind of like going slow motion in my head. And as she's going back, boom, she hit the side of the pool and cracked her head open. And I'm like, oh my God. And that was like our very first bad incident with the pool. And when she got out, though, she was a trooper. She was like, I'm okay. I'm like, no, you're not.
And she'll do it again, too.
I'm like, no, you're not okay, and we're never doing that again. And then I had to go to the ER. But thank God it wasn't deep enough, like, where they had to, like, stitch her with, actual stitches. They did the glue stitches. So it was like, she was okay. So I was like.
Yeah, Leighton never learns her lesson because she's like she's such a clumsy kid. But she, like, just does things, and we're like, that's so dangerous. And she's like, no, it's not. But she's broken her arm twice in a span of 3 years.
Wow.
And she just keeps continuing to do those things, even though she knows what the consequences are.
What's going to happen?
Does not care. And I'm like, dude, you've broken your arm twice.
Yeah, but was she good when she broke it? Like, how was she when she broke it?
Well, the first time she was 3, and so she was a hot mess.
Yeah.
And then the second time, we didn't think it was broken. She didn't even think it was broken. And we waited like a whole day before we ended up going to the urgent care.
Oh, okay.
And then discovering she broke the same arm in the same place again.
Ooh.
And both times is while she was jumping on something.
Oh, gosh. And how old was she the second time?
6.
6, okay.
So we're figuring by next year when she turns 9, we'll have another one because it's every 3 years. So, and the way she does her front handsprings and her cartwheels and her back bends, and she's jumping off the stairs.
That's Shay. Yeah, that's how Shay is. She's jumping off of everything. I'm like, God, girl. And I had her in gymnastics, but then I took her out because it was way too expensive. I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, we cannot be doing that. And then so now I'm trying to like find something else and something that's closer, because where we were going was like 35 minutes away, and I was like, no, we need to find something closer. So I'm trying to figure out something else for her. But yeah, she's definitely very acrobatic. She wants to do anything like where she could flip. Yes. Constantly.
All that energy.
Yeah, it is. And she's not interested in anything else. Like, that's her thing. So it's like, I have to find something. We'll find it.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah, eventually. But yeah, so maybe we'll end it here for today.
Yeah.
And then next week we're gonna talk about what we were gonna talk about, Cassie. You said we'll talk about.
I think we're gonna go right into ADHD, since all of our kids have it.
Yep.
I think that'll be a good discussion point. So next week we'll talk about how we get diagnosed, our medications, our coping mechanisms.
Yes, all that good stuff.
Fun things that come with ADHD,
and
things you probably didn't know about ADHD.
Yes, absolutely. Sounds good. All right, so we'll end it here. Oh, there goes my dog, see? All right, so it was nice talking to you, and we'll see you guys next week.